For more on this, I'm joined by Bob Vastine. He's the Senior Industry Fellow at the Center for Public and Business Policy at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. My alma mater. Welcome to BizAsia America. This TPP deal, this Trans-Pacific Partnership deal, we went through some stats earlier on how big and how the population is 11% of the world's population, 39% of the GDP. How big of a deal is this if they can get this done?
Yeah, it's a very, very big deal. It's very important. It is being billed on one hand as maybe the biggest trade deal ever done. And if it is completed on the right terms, it will be very important.
What makes this deal, though, any different than any other deal that we've seen, whether it's on the Atlantic or recently we talked about NAFTA with the U.S., Mexico, and Canada? I mean, there's so many of these deals now around the world that they seem less special as we keep.
Well, I get that point, but I think what's exceptional here is that 12 of the most important countries in the Asia Pacific are in this game. They're playing it seriously. They want to reach the goal line. And the energy here that's been created by this negotiation is extremely appealing to others. Therefore, Japan insisted on joining a few months ago, adding complications, adding difficulties, which we all knew about, but we said this is too important to pass up. Korea has now informally on the side said it would like to join up. Now we're hoping that someday we can realize what is called, some people have called the Free Trade Area of the Asia Pacific, the FTAP. That is a vision that has been in many people's minds for about 15, 20 years, and it would include all the economies of the Asia Pacific.
Including China.
Including China. Thank you. And that would be a resolution much greatly to be wished, because that would bring China more clearly into the global trading system, the rules-based global trading system.
How would it benefit the different countries? There already is a fairly strong trading relationship among the different countries already, so let's start with that. But if this deal were to be approved, does it change the way perhaps tariffs or customs or the efficiency of goods and services as they're transported? What would the big difference be for a country who would be interested in joining?
Yeah. Well, the economic growth that's going to be created by this, by the enhanced trade amongst this partnership with special access to each other's market, means a great promise for growth and for jobs. So what, for example, is the United States interested in? The United States views this as a 21st century agreement. That's one of the key points about this negotiation. We called it, when we got into it, we said this is going to be a negotiation unlike other ones, unlike the ones that we did in Uruguay round, et cetera. So why is that? Well, it's going to deal with what we call the current issues, 21st century issues. One of those is data flows. Trade depends on the flow of data, the free flow of data, bits, across borders. And some countries are taking the view that that data has to be localized. We can't allow servers to be outside of our nation's purview. That could be enormously inhibiting to trade. Some countries are like the Chinese, but others do a lot of business through state-owned enterprises, thus raising the fear, really changing the game for a lot of private companies who want to, for example, in Vietnam, do business, but they have to do business vis-a-vis state-owned enterprises.
Walk us through the timeline over the next year or so as this discussion continues to continue. How likely is the deal to be done, and how likely is perhaps China, as you mentioned earlier, might be joining the TPP?
I think this deal is going to get done by the end of next year. I thought all of us thought really that the momentum leading up to the conference that ended on the 10th today was terrific. I know that parties really wanted to try to complete it. So this momentum has to be maintained, and I believe that it will be. We in the business community do believe that it will be. So we're looking for a finish date, perhaps concurrent with a presidential visit to Asia, maybe for some things to be wrapped up. But I'd say by midsummer, there's a desire to get this thing done. Now, China has been indicating that it wants to wants to engage in global trade negotiations. They've done this in Geneva mainly. They've dropped a few hints about the TPP, but nothing concrete. I think we're looking at the longer term. But if this TPP is successful with the 12 countries that are now engaged, and we add in Korea, I think it would be very difficult for China to stay out. I think they would want to come in, they'd request coming in, and they'd have to do so on the terms that everybody else has accepted. So there wouldn't be backsliding like we have seen, some people say we've seen strongly in the WTO context.
Yeah, well, it's certainly a very compelling economic case. Bob Vastine, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Always good to have you on Biz Asia America.